So guys, again, thanks a lot for joining us today. This is my fourth episode of proudly named Bulletproof CTO webinars. We are covering various topics. This time, I am very happy to kick off with fintech topic, which is very close to my heart. And I'm also happy that I finally managed to bring in two speakers at the same time to the webinar who know each other before meeting here on my webinars, which is a cool thing. So a brief intro about Przemek. He is a co-founder and CTO of Ramp/Ramp Network. Just also correct which name, Przemek, you prefer?
You can use just Ramp.
Ramp is fine, right? Yeah, sweet, short and sweet. While Matthias is a CTO and co-founder of Passbase. I would say maybe Matthias, that you guys at Passbase are kind of a solution supporting one among others fintech companies, which is so you navigate around the fintech industry, which is very cool for me here for the sake of discussion. Me myself, to those of you who haven't been on the webinars before, or you don't know me from LinkedIn or wherever, I'm the head of growth at the Codest. We are doing custom software development. Also, fintech is very close to our hearts as one of our kind of core businesses. So therefore, I'm happy to chat a bit about fintech today. So without further ado, I will let Przemek first to kind of introduce yourself to our attendees and people who will be watching in later on, and then we move to Matthias.
Sure. Thanks, Kamil, for the introduction. So as Kamil said, my name is Przemek Kowalczyk. I'm a co-founder and CTO at Ramp. And at Ramp, I am mostly focused on leading tech and product. I started Ramp together with Szymon, my co-founder. In 2018, we started hiring at that time, and it was a wild ride for the last couple of years, but we managed to actually find, I feel like, product market fit. So we built a product that is used by many other companies, that is used by end users, thousands of end users, and it's just amazing. The growth over the last year was just amazing. I don't like to boast about financial runs, but we managed to finish our Series A, and we raised a substantial amount of funds in November to boost our performance, to actually scale and to grow further. So right now we are like 100 people, and we're growing very fast, and it's a super crazy time for us. And we are being helped by such amazing companies like Passbase and Matthias. So maybe Matthias.
Yeah, also very nice meeting you guys all. So I'm Matthias. I'm one of the co-founders and CTO of Passbase. I started the company, I think, like more or less like at the similar time like you guys did with Ramp. So it was also like in late 2018. I think this is also the first time actually when I remember that we met. It was, I think, in London with since we both share the same pre-seed investor. And similar like also Ramp, we had like ups and downs. It's always when I describe to friends or other people how it is to start a company, it's basically a roller coaster ride. Sometimes it goes up, but it can also go down. But I think specifically in the last 1 to 2 years, also since my company is basically building a KYC or identity verification and specifically tailored for crypto and fintech clients, we have been like more or less like luckily on the upward trend again, and we like really did ride the wave basically of DeFi and crypto boom in the last 1 to 2 years, and happily can support the explosive growth of Ramp in the last and in the last year, which brought a lot of exciting challenges, I can say. I think for Chick, we both have been in close contact over the last year many times, but it's very inspiring to see basically your guys' growth, and we're doing anything we can to help you guys further on your journey, of course.
Yeah, thanks.
I'm also very happy to hear that. So so we meet here, in a close tribe crew. So I'm very kind of hopeful that it will make our discussion very kind of conversational and natural. So that's my hope. And kind of preparing for this webinar, I was thinking, usually I think, okay, what should I kind of tease here in those small, short and sweet descriptions. I don't want to make them, clickbaits, because fintech is such a wide area and kind of difficult to narrow something down, like something very narrow. So because fintech was fintech was booming for a long time, but it was like hugely booming in 2021, as you guys have experienced. So multiple smart guys are having their own predictions for upcoming year or upcoming few years. So I would like today for us to kind of discuss what was happening last year. I will just introduce the context in a moment. And what do you guys foresee to happen in upcoming year concerning a few topics that I have mentioned in the invitation? So decentralized finance, NFTs, or Web3. So I treat you as experts here, and I hope we could have a nice Q&A at the end coming from the guys who are into the topic deeply as well. So moving on, I will wait a sec. I'm having some people banging on chat. Okay, so this is later on for the Q&A session. First question. So moving on, I listed here a few sentences from, as I said, from the smart guys from Forbes and Boston Consulting Group regarding what was happening in fintech industry last year. So just very quick overview. So in Q3 2021, the fintech investments were up of 173% compared to the last quarter. Yeah, so the same quarter a year before. And in Q3 2021, the fintech investments were 90% higher than all the funding in 2020, totaling almost $35 billion, which is kind of eye-opening. Forbes says that 42 fintech companies became unicorns just in the third quarter of 2021, which is also a huge number. And also, according to Forbes, fintech received over 130 billion in capital, which represents 20% of all capital invested in 2021. So fintech itself stands for 1/5 of capital invested into the startup and scale-ups companies, which makes me, so I felt this, like, personally, that fintech is booming, and this wave is going higher and higher year after year. But usually when I dig deeper and dive into those reports, I realize how big it is and how big attention it gets from the investors, from the market. And I will add one more point here, just to kind of give a few predictions by Finextra. So according to Finextra, next year is going to be around mainly three things in fintech. So removing payment friction without compromising on compliance and regulation. Maybe that's a thing for you, Matthias. That will be the year of embedded finance, and that should be a time for open banking. So the market conditions are going to be favorable to finally do open banking seriously. And for me myself, when I think fintech, the first things coming to my mind is usually speed, convenience, this competitiveness against traditional financial institutions, and that fintech is sort of like addressing the needs of the new generations. The generations are not happy with the way finance and banking and everything around finance works, and fintech is kind of releasing this kind of, I don't know, difference in mindset of people from generations who are living now and who used to live in the past. So that's the way I see fintech, and I would be happy to know how do you guys, from your own experience, because you are way deeper in the topic, how would you think about the predictions for next year? And I will start from the first question. So what, in your opinion, let's start this question from Matthias. So what, in your opinion, 2021 has brought to fintech industry, and what would you expect to happen in 2022? Maybe something to be like a game changer, or something that will have like a significant influence on industry as a whole.
Yeah. So I think we can't talk about 2021 without actually talking about Web3, which in fact basically starts to really now hit mass market and mainstream adoption, in my opinion. So I think what we now really started to see is that in 2021, traditional finance companies can no longer ignore Web3 and cryptocurrencies. And this is also what we see with just like lots of these like newer players, like the neobanks, the crypto, the finance apps, all starting to launch cryptocurrency trading. All are thinking about now how they can implement like new ways from like blockchain technology or crypto or NFTs into their current like product offering. And this is super exciting to see, basically, since like I mean, historically in the past, this segment was like more or less like ignored. So I think like if you think 5 years back, even longer, that was like more that the traditional finance was like more thinking that this is just like a fad and this will go away. And I think now we are like at the point where this simply can't be ignored anymore or any longer. And I'm super stoked, of course, now like in 2022 to now slowly see more and more of these applications and use cases actually using DeFi products or crypto products in their own applications. So that's I think my first take at it. How about, what do you think?
So I feel like I obviously completely agree. We are building products for Web3 companies, and we see amazing growth in this area. But before we dive deeper into crypto specifics and blockchain specifics trends, I just wanted to go back for a second to maybe some global trends or more traditional fintech. So I feel like there are two big trends, and the first one is that we see a general shift towards alternative payment methods, and especially open banking payment methods. So that's what the Finextra mentioned so what Kamil mentioned on the previous slide. And I feel like this is I hope that is going to happen. So this challenge from alternative payment methods that are challenging the card payments dominance. And I feel like that's going to be great for consumer because like we can see the PSP, so the payment schemes for open banking, but also payments like Blik in Poland, they can offer better user experience and lower costs. And I feel like that is something very exciting in the long run. And challenging the dominant player is always good for the consumer, because consumer then gets more choice. So, and I feel like crypto can also be here one of the solutions. Like people are starting to use crypto and starting to use crypto even as a payment method, and that's for us is especially interesting. Other thing the second trend that I'm seeing is the wider access to banking data, and that's also is boosted by the open banking trend in general. And I feel like Matthias is going to know more about it, but I also see trend in AID. So this is also about accessing the verified bank data or governmental data. I don't know what you think about AID.
Yeah, I mean, I think that in especially since I'm like at the core of that is like another trend which basically goes in line, and you can almost see correlations between the boom of fintech is also like the boom in just like pure fraud that is happening in basically fintech or an online fraud, I would say in general. And it's like a constant cat and mouse game. So basically those fraudsters or scammers are constantly inventing new schemes how to defraud users or end users, and this brings like its own challenges with it. So I think that what 2021 has brought in that sense was just like while this whole industry was booming, so was fraud. And I think also this will likely, unfortunately, continue in 2022. And it continues to be a cat and mouse game. And it's in the end, just basically you need to stay on top of each other. You need to develop machine learning algorithms to detect these things early on, and continue to like raise the bar for people to scam and fraud as well. So I think, I mean, you guys probably also, especially the crypto space has always been, let's say, like a space where you need to be super careful since since like there like a lot of stuff is happening there.
Yeah, one of the key challenges for us is actually fighting fraud and being compliant with all the necessary regulations, and that's what, for example, Passbase is helping us to do. I feel like that's what you said about the fraud, the growing number of fraud attempts and theft is true, and we see this trend also growing, but also we have a lot of more tools to fight it. But there's always this balance between how well you can protect your customers and their privacy. So because to protect customers, you need to get more data, and you cannot get more data without challenging those questions about privacy. But that's another topic.
Yeah, absolutely. I think also that what slowly will start to now become even more relevant is I think we can expect more regulation to come in 2022. So even though it's exciting to see basically the fintech industry and the wider crypto space and Web3 space to bloom, I think that at this point in time, the government will just like impose more and stricter regulations, which makes it harder for like some startups, of course, to start in that space. So, but I would expect that in the coming years there be like more stricter regulations and even more like anti-money laundering laws and things like this. Because if we're real, like right now, it's like the Web3 and crypto space is almost like a Wild West, where you literally like just connect your wallet and you can do all kinds of things without any or like barely any AML regulation. So the only way how it's somewhat controlled at this point in time is at the Android scale. So once they use RAMP, but I could imagine that, and we saw this last year with the infrastructure bill already. So this is just like I think the start that governments will like put like a closer eye on how to regulate those companies. So like let's see how this will play out.
Yeah, I feel like the bigger regulatory scrutiny is something what we'll see in 2022, especially in crypto area, because as you said, there's still a bit of Wild West there, and only the entry and exit points are kind of regulated, like RAMP. But that's also interesting, because this scrutiny wouldn't come without actual usage. So users are using it, and that's why regulators are looking at those applications. So I feel like there is this correlation between what people are using and what regulators are looking at. And that's just I feel like that's just the symptom of this trend of actual usage in Web3.
I feel like it will be a case still for a long time that those fintech innovators are innovating way faster than regulators are not able to catch up, because the things change so fast that especially regulators are as a governmental level or EU level or any like wider level are not able to catch up with the speed of this innovation. But coming back to fraud, the fraudsters are doing their best to actually catch up with the speed of it and find those vulnerabilities and kind of make their way to do frauds, do scams where the money is. So they go where the money is until the regulators are able to somehow control it to the way that it limits those holes where fraudsters can actually get in. So that's for me, it's always like a kind of interesting to see how regulators, or with what kind of reflex or speed the regulators are interviewing, or intervening. Actually, that's the word. Whenever there's something new happening on the market, and relating to what to expect in 2022, I also so doing a research a few times, I came across on the forecast that people expect in the fintech area still consolidations on the market. So there are many players who are in order to grow further, they need to acquire smaller companies, or they need to consolidate with others. And the second trend is, which I also observe, is that more and more fintech companies are rising who address very specific niche need. And those players, especially now when there is a lot of capital on the market who is eager to invest into fintechs who are addressing completely different areas than the, let's say, mainstream players, are going to rise. And I am, especially as a consumer, of course, I'm happy to be the early adopter and early tester of those solutions, because as you guys said before, the bigger the competition is versus the traditional finance, the better it is for us consumers, as always. And I'm laughing out loud, like a few days ago, when I'm, for example, getting by traditional post a statement, from my bank. I won't spell out the name, but every month I'm getting a statement from my bank, which is printed out and sent out to me via traditional post, and they ask me to sign it and send it back to them to make sure if I confirm that this is actually my bank statement and everything is fine. So every time I see things like this, I'm just laughing out loud that those institutions are just living in the past. Just kind of summarizing those expectations for 2022. If you would guys like to add something here in this first point, feel free, please.
I feel like we covered most of the topics, actually. And just to add one sentence to what you said, I feel like we are going through this typical cycle of centralization and decentralization in the digital industry. So first, you have a lot of new solutions popping up when you have new tech discovered or invented, and then you are getting more centralization because you have a lot of mergers, and just to make the capital work more efficiently. But then after you have those mergers, you see a lot of further specialization. And in some niches, I feel like that's actually quite important to understand, that most of the fintech products are actually build like a patchwork of other solutions. So for example, when you see Revolut and you see the this financial platform and you have many different products, underneath there are like 20 or 40 different other companies that are doing some very specific things. So I don't know who, but for example, Revolut could use Currency Cloud for the currency exchange, someone else for insurance products, someone else for something else. And that's how it usually works underneath. So the same way how we are using, for example, Passbase to do QIC, we're using other applications, other products to do something else, like, for example, payments. And I feel like that's the same also for you, Matthias.
Yeah, absolutely. So usually it basically, how you build your product, you're like usually relying on other technology providers and service providers that help you. And so like if your like product goes and crawls a lot, like you're like raising the whole ocean water for everyone else. So that basically proves that if fintech or crypto companies grew a lot in 2022, it kind of like did help a lot of other companies as well to grow. So this is like super exciting to see.
I actually have seen a comment on LinkedIn from one of my previous speakers here on this webinars that regarding to this. So if you want to develop your product fast, and you actually don't need to build it from the ground, you don't need to custom build it, because there are solutions on the market like SaaS solutions who you can integrate with, and they can perfectly power up your platform, your solution. You don't need to reinvent the wheel, even if you have plenty of cash to do it, right? So you might have plenty of cash from the investors, and you might be tempted to do it like from the ground up. But in order to do things fast, you can easily team up with other friends and partners from the industry who could perfectly address what you need to achieve with your product with the product that they have already built. And this is working, it's scalable, and it's perfectly fine to integrate it inside your platform. So as Przemek said, you might, so for us consumers, it doesn't really matter who is actually the owner of the technology, who has built it. For us, it's just the final user experience and what we could achieve via the platform. It's the ultimate goal, at least I'm saying from my own experience. So if Revolut is using, I know, 20 other software vendors who are integrated inside the platform, I mean, I couldn't care less, as long as they deliver for me what I need with enough speed and convenience and everything that what I expect from the fintech provider. Yeah, just you have my blessing. So I would definitely sum it up this way. Moving on to question number 2 about what I nicely describe as new kids on the block. So NFT, Web3, and DeFi. You guys already mentioned it a bit. So if it's a temporary thing, or if it's something to fade soon, or something that will grow so big that people, organizations, regulators cannot pretend it doesn't exist, or cannot pretend it will be thing that can easily collapse. So I would be definitely happy to hear what you guys think about it from your personal experience, and what do you think this will bring to the industry as a whole, because of course as with all those topics that are controversial, there are edge opinions from both sides. So I would be happy to have some sort of balanced opinion here. What do you guys expect?
I don't feel like you can get balanced opinion from my side, as we are building like a solution for all those Web3 applications. So for me, this trend of Web3 growing, and in general more usage of blockchain technology is just something what I'm super excited about, like on personal level, but also on a business level. My first interaction with blockchain was 10 years ago, and over that time I saw the tremendous growth, but also challenges, and how the ecosystem and crypto community solved them. I feel like we are finally at the moment when blockchain is going mainstream. And what's interesting is that actually it's going mainstream not under the name of crypto blockchain, but actually, for example, Web3 or NFTs. And that's interesting because it shows that there's actual use case there. So people are finding those use cases, and they are thinking about for example, I want to buy this NFT, or I want to play this game, and they are not thinking about how technology works underneath, but they would just want to play it or just want to use it. And that's, I feel like it shows that we are on this brink of mass adoption. I just wanted to mention one more thing. So what I feel like also happened in the last year, and what is going to kind of push forward this mass adoption is that we finally invented a ways to scale blockchain. So as you probably heard, the crypto blockchain transactions are very costly, and they take a lot of time, for example, 10 minutes on Bitcoin. But finally, we have solutions, they are called layer 2 solutions, that are actually enabling much faster and less expensive transactions. And that's something that is going to allow for this growth.
Yeah, super exciting. I mean, I think especially what you just touched upon is, I think that also 2022 will be the year of the layer 2 solutions in general, or like the year where the whole Web3 community will focus on scaling this. And I mean, there are like two different camps. Like one is basically the Ethereum maxi camp that more focuses on how we can scale Ethereum through layer 2s, versus like the multi-chain world. So where you say that the future is in like multiple blockchains like Solana, Avalanche, or something, that just like offer let's say different capabilities, cheaper transaction costs. So and I think the one point that you touched upon is super interesting, because I mean I'm in this industry now already, also like almost not 10 years, but maybe like 7 or 8. So but I've seen basically these cycles happen every few years. So like 2017 it was ICOs, like 2020 it was DeFi, last year it was NFTs, and every time we kind of like this community like was faced with challenges and then succeeded and brought like another use case to the mass market. And like you said, now we are actually where suddenly like people touching this technology who do not even realize that it's blockchain technology, or like that they're using Web3, because they just want to buy this JPEG from a monkey, or like they just want to buy this trading card on Sorare from their like favorite soccer player. And this is like super exciting to see, because I think the biggest hurdle in the past always was that it was so cumbersome and difficult for lots of the everyday users to set up a MetaMask wallet, how they handle their private key. It was super scary to like buy Ethereum and crypto and then send it to this hash, which basically is scary. And then like they hear about all the scams. And this is already luckily what Ramp is solving by trying to make it like literally as easy to just like use Apple Pay or like a credit card that you can buy Ethereum and then buy this NFT. I think that to this day, we still can't even yet imagine and picture what in the next few years the next really big use cases will be. I think like it has been the last 2 years, basically DeFi and NFTs, but who knows what's coming in the next couple of years. But it's super inspiring to see like just the pure quality of talent from friends that I know who have been basically working for big corporate Google or Amazon or Facebook or something in the past, who now like literally had that like epiphany moment in the last year or like last two, and suddenly realized like, oh my God, I finally understand Web3. This is fundamentally changing the game, how it works. Then since we're going from like a read-write world to a read-write-own world, where you suddenly can own a piece of, let's say, like digital real estate or digital art or digital piece online, and this just like enables so many possibilities suddenly that I think we can't even really imagine yet what will come in the coming years. And this is, I think, super exciting to be in that space right now, and building along those builders and trying to help support them. So since both Ramp and Passbase are somewhat helping those builders and those companies building out those use cases.
Yeah, exactly. I also hope that we'll see wider adoption of other use cases, like especially DeFi. I feel like we may see this year or the next one. So, and you know, like, because NFTs are mostly about games and about entertainment, and that's proper and valid use case. I'm just very excited about other use cases, like challenging and actually building products are going to compete with traditional finance, for example. In DeFi, with DeFi, we could create, I don't know, high yield saving accounts and compete with banking products. The same goes with loans and borrowing money. And I feel like that's where the very exciting, but also very hard competition is going to exist.
Yeah. And I think here also, to just like expand on your point again, the killer product is not either you are Web3 or your traditional finance. I believe that the future, those things will be blended in, and that end users don't really know or are aware that they're actually currently touching Web3 and crypto underneath. So what I basically believe, you just mentioned high yield products. So I think a lot of these neobanks, Revolut, N26, and you can name them. So in the past, these even like traditional finance, if you go to like the old banks, HSBC, Deutsche Bank, and all these ones, like they don't even like give you more than like 0.1 APY or something like nowadays in yield. They even like take money from you sometimes if you're individually wealthy. And if you think about it, like in the DeFi world, you can easily get 6 to 8% APY nowadays if you just like take your money, convert it to DAI or like a stable coin and put it into like one of those pools. And they give you, this is like the 100x product compared to traditional finance. And so what I believe is that lots of these neobanks will like literally just like adopt this almost on a protocol level, offer saving accounts suddenly with like 4, 5, 6, 7% APY. And this is the 100x product. So why would I like leave my money in my Deutsche Bank account if I can put it on Revolut and get 5 or 6%? So I think like lots of these use cases will happen, and this is basically again the opening gateway for these end consumers who probably don't even have to know that there's like a blockchain like running underneath it, and this is super exciting. The same thing like with loans, like it will be super exciting to see all these things blending like the Web3 world and the traditional finance together.
Yeah.
So my feeling was also that what you guys said, that the new kids on the block, they actually, they might be new, but they are becoming mainstream to the level that you can't even feel it. That before the entry barrier was kind of, there was a friction, people were scared, afraid. Now they don't even know that they are, they have interaction with this technology. And it feels like natural, for especially the younger users. It feels natural. It feels sort of comfy. It doesn't do any harm, and you don't need to dig deep what's actually underneath that, because you just want this final experience that you get. and that you actually have sort of benefits from using that technology the way it is designed for you to use. But I was also curious, like, I think I saw something like regarding decentralized finance. So I think it was sort of like a graphic or even a meme that people are sort of comparing the centralized finance with traditional finance. That it is supposed to be decentralized, but somehow it is still affected by the centralized finance, especially when you compare the classical stock exchange and the value of companies over there on the classical centralized finance exchanges, and it somehow affects how the decentralized finance assets are being valued and priced. So it is supposed to be decentralized, but somehow it still is affected by this classical old school institution. So maybe I wonder, when do you feel like it will be decentralized, like maybe like completely free, like a bird coming from the nest and just flying high without the parents dragging behind them?
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, we see this right now, of course, especially in the last 1 or 2 weeks, where we had like a massive I guess like price correction. I don't know if we can call it already a bear market that we're entering, but like in the end, like you can see that the stock market and the crypto market are nevertheless fairly correlated. So we saw this when the COVID pandemic hit, like in 2020. We're seeing this right now, that in the end, and I think that, I don't know if we ever will reach that like there is something where you could say Web3 or like these like new asset classes are completely detached from like traditional finance. So I don't think that we will ever reach there. I still think that our world nowadays is so globalized and intertwined and interconnected that whatever correction in economies and trade and whatsoever will always have an impact both on asset classes like Bitcoin, Ethereum, or crypto, as well as like stock. So I don't know if this was the direction where you went, or did I understand it right? Okay.
Yeah. So I was kind of trying to refer to those edge opinions, right? So there are edge opinions of those people who are early adopters and who are very
right,
super excited about what it brings. From the other point, people who are always referring, okay, this is decentralized, but it is hugely affected by the centralized traditional, let's say, finance.
I think I know what you mean, and I think I had recently a super interesting conversation about that like no matter like how decentralized you are and the company is decentralized, in the end we are still relying on centralized companies or services. So like in the end it doesn't matter. You can like try to completely decentralize the blockchain, but in the end you still need a, I guess, centralized server to run it, or like you can have like multiple nodes, but they still can, those individual nodes are centralized and having power on it. So it's exciting to see like where this all is going. Is I think the whole decentralization bug bit me like years ago. I'm a true believer in that this is the right path forward, but I maybe you have like a stronger opinion on that, but I would love to hear your thought on it.
I feel like already what we achieved is amazing. So you need to like remember the baseline. The baseline is that everything is centralized, and even if some bits are still centralized, that's okay. You cannot, as you mentioned, in the end, you need to have the centralized server, in the sense that you need to have one machine that actually is doing those computations and runs the code. And this is obviously something that's going to happen. But I feel like this from the other perspective, like you can obviously say that as a complete purist that everything should be decentralized. But on the other hand, like we already moved the needle a lot. Like we already have some products that are partially decentralized or even fully decentralized. Like you have solutions like, for example, MakerDAO that issued a completely decentralized currency. And you can use those DAI that are one-to-one to correlation with the price of USD. And you can use DAI, those tokens, to interact with DeFi. And that's just pure craziness. The community was able to create a completely decentralized currency. And I feel like we already we already achieved a lot. And I feel like it's still going to progress and move in the right into the decentralization direction.
I think an interesting point also, just like to zoom in again on the Web3 community, is that there are sometimes projects that are to some extent centralized, since they are like VC funded. So if I think about, for example, like Compound, and it didn't take too long. Also, by the way, Uniswap or Compound are prime examples of that are like fairly centralized in the sense of that like VCs invested into them. And it didn't take very long until there was like a decentralized protocol that essentially does the same, but is completely community owned. So for like Uniswap, it basically was SushiSwap that then popped up, launched a token, and just like purely the decentralization and community aspect forced in the end Uniswap to also launch a token and let them contribute. The same thing was with basically Compound and Aave, which are basically both decentralized lending pools, but in the end also forced then Compound to basically do the same thing. So like, if I think that this is like a pattern, I'm very curious to see how this will play out in the next coming years, where basically decentralized versions of centralized successful services are happening. Perhaps one day Passbase or Ramp has to think about how do we decentralize, or how we let our community and early adopters also benefit from our success. So I'm super interested how this will play out long term.
Yeah, exactly. Someone needs to be first, and someone needs to go through this track first and build solution, but then others can follow. And that's and by just iteration you can improve.
If you launch a token, let me know, I'll buy it.
No comment.
Okay, guys, so thanks for summing it up. Just giving a heads up on our timing. I planned it for 75 minutes, so we have around 25 minutes to go through point number 3 and Q&A session. We already have there 2 questions pending, but before we move there, I would like to come back to the question of funding, financing the projects, attracting the investors. You have already mentioned briefly about the Series A that you guys have been going through. You don't need to go into too confidential details, of course. Just kind of overview for people who are as deep in fintech as perhaps you, or they are somewhere at the beginning of their journey as founders or managers, and looking for ways to attract investors in this day and age, in terms of how to attract investors, how the process usually looks like, how long it takes in order to also have this magic match between you and the investor, because it's also a kind of a chemistry to some point. So if you could elaborate on this a bit, it would be great. And maybe shall we start with Matthias, or you guys just want to go freestyle?
I can start, but I can clearly say that Ramp has done a fantastic job at that. So I would love to hear their thoughts later, like how they have done it. But I think in the end, fundraising in general is it's a more than art than a science. So it's not easy, but at the core of it, you need to build something that users want. So like in the end, if you have a great product, if a great idea, and you build something that users want and use, quite naturally, you will have like product traction and in the end product market fit. So I think Sam Altman once said that like rate of iteration is the higher predictor of a future startup success. So like the more you iterate, the more you incorporate user feedback, the better your product will become, and the more likely is the chance that you will reach product market fit fast. And I think in the end, like very general advice is try to differentiate from like your competitors, try to build a better product in that sense, and then just like try to outperform through like building the better product and gaining more traction. And I think from then on, if you just like focus on, and you're like massively focused on building the best product out there and getting the best value to your users, investors will come quite naturally. So I think this is the TLDR on like how you should approach fundraising. But you're talking here to two CTOs, like we're just building the product, like we're not the chief fundraising officer here.
Yeah, I feel like the point that Matthias mentioned is the most important. So you need to actually have a great product that users love and use. And if you have this traction, if you have this market product fit, then investors will come. And that's a must-have. Then on top of that, you need to obviously build a investment story. You need to explain what you want to achieve. You need to show that you have the right people that think long term and that are ready to to scale up the company and to grow it, and that are here for the long run. But the most important part is actually having the great product. So maybe by answering a bit of your question, because you're asking about 2022, I feel like what's going to change is that the days of cheap capital, they're going to end. We have higher interest rates, and at some point we'll see less capital on the market, and but also we may, like for example, what Matthias, you mentioned about the prices on blockchain and or the market correction. And I feel like this is the great time to focus on building and iterating and improving your product. And also, I feel like that such times test business fundamentals. So do we have actually a strong product and a strong team? And if you have this, then you shouldn't worry.
And Przemek, would you feel that in terms of this access to easy access to capital and maybe like wide access to capital in terms of building new projects within finance, fintech overall, would you feel like the investors would be more willing to bet their funds into those new kids on the block, like completely new fintech solutions, or innovators who are trying to do things maybe differently, better, but in the solutions that are already existing on the market, like they are already there, they are doing things right, they are doing it properly, but they are the rookies are coming in and they want to do the same things but a bit better, a bit different. So would you rather feel like the trend will be the investors be attracted to those guys, or rather like completely wild niche solutions?
Obviously it depends. So at this moment, today, there is a lot of capital in the market, and you can still get investment for finance your project quite easily. And especially with the COVID pandemic, the pandemic become this great equalizer. So you can get access to capital from Silicon Valley living in Europe, because everyone works from home, for example, and the COVID is still there. So you can access this capital from the other places of the world, from, for example, Poland. And so I think today it's quite easy to get investment for even very crazy and new products. But if the downturn actually comes, then the investors are getting more conservative, are going to get more conservative and focus mostly on this actually proven solutions and on just iteration.
Yeah, that's fair enough risk management for the investors.
Yeah, I think also that I mean, specifically 2021 was like a pretty wild year. What we've seen, where we've seen like massive rounds to like really eye-opening valuations. They were like, I mean, sometimes even like 100x revenue multiples. So like I don't even know, like that was definitely like unusual. So I would expect even in this current like environment that valuations are probably like more like again going down 30 to 50% likely. So and right now like there is a lot of money in the market, but I think nevertheless with the stock market going down, with crypto market going down, we see also like again like more price correction in terms of investment rounds and valuations. So that being said, of course, we've seen like massive funds like last year, lots of like new funds that are sitting on like $1 billion like that they need to deploy, and they basically promise their LPs that they will deploy this in like I don't know, like a horizon of like a couple of years. So let's see how this will all play out and play together.
And
shall we ask actually some questions from that are coming in live here?
Yes, yes. So we will move because I see questions in two places, in both in chat and in Q&A feature. So guys, feel free to use both. I'll bring them up. So we can easily move to Q&A, and I guess we will be covering a few of the things mentioned. So doing my slides, I on purpose chose the Samuel Lee Jackson. So we are in the context of being bulletproof. So you guys feel free to fire your bullets here in the Q&A session. So I will start with question from the Q&A feature, and I will move then to those from the chat. So question number one from Shimon was, how can we as users protect ourselves from fraud in the crypto market? What can we do to make our funds safe, or at least safer? And I guess, okay, so I will be taking maybe Matthias here first, as he is deeply in this.
I would say, first of all, only buy through RAM your crypto, and in that way also like that we ensure that you are safe. That in the end, it's such a crazy market. So and I think you should only really like use products that you trust and that you do your own like due diligence on. So never connect your wallet if you think this is like a dodgy site or like a dodgy NFT that you should you should like not trust. So it's also like really depends, like go and check the project, go to the Discord, try to find out if somebody else has been scammed, and besides that, try to take all the necessary measures to keep your seed phrase really like secure, put on 2FA on all your crypto exchange accounts, and try to really watch out, because there are a lot of people out there that literally try to scam you. So this is the best advice that I can do, and at least I can guarantee you from a pure technology standpoint that at least RAM, Passbase, and I can also speak for some of our competitors are like trying everything best we can to make it safe for you guys, you end users.
And Przemek, I guess we'll say the same. Use ramp.
Yeah, obviously. But I just wanted to underline the thing that already Matthias said. So use only products that you feel confident that you understand. And like I often get questions: should I use this one or this or this, or should I invest in this token or something else? And I always answer, I don't know. I don't know them. How could I know? And I always advise to do your own research and check and validate if the product that you want to use is actually okay, and don't trust others. So, and if you cannot, if you don't understand something, then you shouldn't use it or you shouldn't invest in it.
That's fair enough for me. I have a round of questions from Bartosz. So I will connect two of them together and feel free to volunteer. So first, how did you start with the fintech? What was the trigger that pulled you into this domain? And how long it took you to learn enough to see the gaps to fill and innovate around them? So I'm clicking on both, and maybe I'll pick Przemek first.
To be honest, I was always interested in finance and economics. I actually studied physics at university, but my thesis that I was writing was about econophysics. So using physics tools in economics to analyze how the economics works. And I always was interested in this area. And for me, what was actually the point when I understood that I want to do it was when I started working for a startup that was building product for in crypto and fintech. So, and when I actually touched this from very close perspective and understood what they're doing and how exciting it is, then I kind of said, okay, this is for me. I want to do it. But yes,
I can go next. So in my case, I was always super interested in startups. So like even when during my university and my graduate degree, I was generally like interested in startups and building own projects. And when I then started, I started as a software engineer for like a cybersecurity startup in Silicon Valley. I had like always these little side projects where I worked on like own apps, and I built at that time, this was like 2016, 2017, like since I was so passionate about Web3 and crypto at that time, I built like a small crypto tracker and basically then like a crypto wallet, like one of the first crypto wallets in crypto tracker. And this was then somewhat for me the entrance in like Web3 crypto or like the wider fintech world, where like it was just like so eye-opening, and I went down the rabbit hole. And this was like in the end like what pulled me into it, just like my pure interest into this new asset class and how exciting that space was, since it was like at that time fairly novel. Nowadays it's not anymore, but like at that time it truly was. And I think that in that case I stumbled upon the problem myself, where I just like discovered that the whole anti-money laundering space, the whole know your customer, the digital identification space was like still super painful to operate and work with those companies. So this was then in the end what showed me that there's like a playing space, there's a company to be built, which is more developer centric and forward leaning. And this was then in the end what was the starting point of my own entrepreneurial journey of starting Passbase.
And would you be able to like roughly answer the how long it took you to learn to see those gaps to fill and innovate, like that you found the sweet spot and yeah, this is where I want to go?
Probably like 6 months, like one up to like a year was like really the from like ideating and thinking about like, oh, this could be an interesting space, like a couple of months, and then building a first prototype to the point and like, holy shit, we should build a company in this. So it was like definitely several months. So it was like not like an overnight decision. So we definitely carefully looked at that market. How was it for you guys? Like, I would be curious. So.
You know, as I mentioned, I am the part of the community for quite a long time, of the blockchain community, and I always was tracking the progress quite closely. So for me, the blockchain space was actually a place that I was coming from. Like for me, this was a native language for me. And then I was discovering also fintech and the traditional finance side, and that was something that took me I don't know, 6 months, a year, something like that.
Okay, so I will follow up with one more question from Bartosz, also kind of how to start. So assume somebody doesn't know much about fintech or just has the basics. How much time do they need to learn it in order to feel confident in this domain? Where do they start? Do you recommend any books or online courses? It's a bit broad, but I hope you could share some tips and tricks.
I would suggest do not do it alone. Find someone that you can talk to. Find someone that the other person can also be a complete newbie in this area. It helps if they would have some knowledge, but just by not doing this by only yourself, you will be more motivated and you will have more out of the box ideas, because then you can one person can come with the problem and another with solution. And if you just focus on by yourself on it, then you will close yourself in a bubble. And what's I learned about startups and building your company, it's not a single person endeavor. You need to have you need friends that you're working with, and you need your co-founders, you need advisors, and you need mentors.
Yeah, great way of like meeting your co-founder, I can tell you. Like at least this was for like Felix and me, since we were just like super both passionate and interested about crypto and Web3. And we both chatted the whole time about it. And then we were like, oh, we should build something here. And this was like somewhat the startup prior to Passbase that then evolved into Passbase. So if you do it with somebody else, that who knows, this could be your co-founder in the future.
So I will right away follow up with a last question from Bartosz. I mean, not the last at all, but he just posted where to find fintech people to talk to. So I guess it's around about the community.
If you work for fintech startup, usually, this is usually where you find people who are both interested in that. But they're like meetups. They are like Discord servers of like users who use the same product. They're like nowadays like online and offline places where you can find those folks. Maybe you have more ideas, Richard.
Yeah. Work, university, online. I don't have any more answer here.
Okay, so now a bit side topic from Mike. So do you guys invest in NFTs? Any recommendations for long-term investment strategy? So I guess it's a question, do you own yourself any NFTs already?
I own some NFTs, but only as an experiment. I do not invest, and I just don't have time for that.
Yes, very similar. I do own a couple of NFTs, mostly for fun. But I haven't bought some as an investment yet. So I wish I would have bought an ape, but I don't. So it's for me, it's like more like a fun thing, and to be part of the community, of course.
So start for fun and see how it grows and where it goes. And then
maybe one of mine will become the next ape, I hope. So
you will be already on the train, right? So when the train speeds up, you're already sitting there, and you are not just watching from the side. So I will add one more question from Bartosz, kind of referring to our third topic. So about the capital. Do you need a lot of capital to ramp up a fintech business? It's kind of subjective thing to answer, but there we go.
I would say yes. I feel like this is one of those industries that you cannot just start with nothing. You cannot just build an app as during your weekends. You need actually a team, you need capital, and you need a concrete idea. But on the other hand, getting capital is not that hard from what I see. if you have a good idea and if you are willing to show your commitment, then you will find capital.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, there are definitely also like industries where you need more capital. Like hardware is notoriously known for being
Healthcare.
even more, or like healthcare is like known for being even more capital intensive. That being said, you need, especially in the fintech world, capital if you need to like build something where you need like a banking license or something like this. So this is just like requires time, effort, capital in that sense. But you can like fairly like I just said, we can fairly easily build prototype, build an app that shows your idea and then raise funding for that. And in the past, I think that in general, like the healthcare space, the fintech space was a space where like lots of investors are fairly interested in investing in. So the answer is yes.
Okay, so the first thing on the chat was actually more like advertisement of this POC and MVP by Besim. So I will skip that for now. And the last question we have from Numan: which kind of knowledge is required in advance to start any startup related to NFT and blockchain technologies? If there would be like a silver bullet to answer this.
So, I mean, I think for sure, if you want to start something in that space, coding is definitely like helpful. Specifically, also like around smart contracts. So like you should like do some like online classes around like Solidity smart contract development. I per se, like, I mean, I don't know. I've never launched an NFT startup myself, but maybe you have like more knowledge about like what it takes in order to like launch a project there.
I feel like if someone is coming from software development background, obviously you need to know the basics, how blockchain works, to read the Bitcoin Ethereum white papers, understand how everything comes together. But I feel like what's also important is to remember that startups are not just about the code, are about the business idea, your clients, the problem that you are solving, and not just the code that you are writing.
To just answer the second question that you have, is it fine to hire third parties for development? I think it's sure fine, but like this is what every investor will challenge you on. Like every investor will ask, like, is there a CTO? Is there like a technical core team member who is building it? Because for the investor's perspective, this is the biggest risk, that you are not able to build what you're promising. So like in that case, I would advise any startup team to always have a technical co-founder in their team who can build it.
You need at least one person with deep technical knowledge of what you're actually trying to build to supervise the software house or external contractors.
So then you own the vision. You are the owner of the product, no matter who is actually delivering it, but you have the know-how in-house, right?
Yeah, you have the know-how in-house, and if, for example, and you can actually judge if the given software house is delivering, and then you can, if they don't, then you can always switch. But if you don't have this core knowledge internally, then you cannot switch, because you are kind of a hostage of this corporation.
So a technical core team is a must-have on board. Okay, so I guess we would be done here, at least from what I see. Okay, guys. So if you wouldn't drop in any more questions, I would be. Yeah. Okay. I see something coming in. One last question. Okay. So there we go. So let's make it a final question, the last dance, and I will sum it up.
Typing furiously. probably not like a very long question, so like we have to.
Okay. Can we also
Oh
have a
yeah.
chance to have...
Yeah, for sure. I can answer that. That it's probably like ticketing or something like this. Like if you're like I guess in the future artists will sell NFTs with their like music songs or albums, and this will then have like real world benefits that you have like backstage access or something like this. So the whole ticketing system will probably switch at some point in time to NFTs in the coming years.
I would totally jump into this. If only this flies, I would go for this.
Yeah. Additionally with like fashion, just that, you know, like I think that you see already now Adidas, Nike all go into NFTs, that you buy your new pair of Nike sneakers and then you get like an NFT additionally for like your metaverse avatar or something. So those are the two that I can think of. You probably know more. So
no, that actually I feel like that's a great example of, you know, you can buy a physical item, but also parallelly you're buying digital items. You're buying your Nike, I don't know, whatever, socks, and you can wear them in real world, but also in metaverse of Zuckerberg's metaverse, whatever.
Like thinking about music and art, like I have big plans this year to attend many concerts and festivals. So I would totally buy this if I'm buying a physical ticket and I'm going for a festival. And if along this, the artists are selling the NFTs, some kind of, I don't know, exclusive access to their exclusive small concert, or even a recording of this concert. I don't know, let's make it a background little concert just for 20 people, but there is a recording and I can get exclusive access to this by just, owning the NFT. Shut up and take my money. Okay, guys, so we will finish here. I will wrap it up anyway later on and share this on our blog. So to recap this, later on I will publish also the recording on YouTube, and this will be delivered to your mailboxes, so you have a chance to kind of come back to this whenever you feel like. From my side, I am very, very grateful for Przemek and Matthias to join me and discuss the topics, especially in this, as you guys said, kind of hot and busy time. So I'm doubly grateful for this, and thanks for sharing all the interesting and juicy bits with us. Yeah, and I hope to see you around in some time at my next episode. I'm not sure yet what will be the topic, but it will fly somewhere around March or April, so stay tuned.
Thank you so much for everything. Take care.
Thanks, Kamil.
Thank you, guys. Thanks a lot.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.